Hey guys, good morning. Today is June 12th, and it is the 12th week of our spring garden tour series. We're almost done with this part of the series, which is really exciting. I mentioned in my last video I might switch it up for summer, but as of right now, we've been able to do a weekly thing for, I think, every week in spring. I might have missed one week, but for the most part, you've been able to join me in my garden for every week this spring, which is pretty cool. So today, we are in a race against the rain. We have rain on our forecast, which isn't very normal for us in the summertime. It's usually really dry here, and honestly, it's usually hotter than this by now. I'm in California in zone 9B, and so it's really nice to actually have this cooler weather. The last couple days, I haven't been able to get out here to do this tour before the sun came up all the way, and it was pretty hot down here. Oh no, I just felt a sprinkle. So we'll see how much of this garden tour we can get done before it starts raining. But a couple other things I want to do today. I have a harvest bowl because I noticed yesterday I did a really quick walkthrough, and there was a lot of stuff that I could have harvested, and I was like, oh, let me save that for the tour. And I thought I would be doing the tour, an hour later, and that just didn't happen. And so there's some stuff that definitely needs to be picked. And then I brought out some water in a jar too, because I'm hoping to get some flowers. Now, because I felt a sprinkle, I might wait on these things. Oh yeah, it's sprinkling in my bowl. I might wait on these, so we'll see. Or we might end up just doing this tour multiple times throughout the day. We'll see how far we get. So anyway, let me go to our usual starting point and go through that really fast because there's not a ton that's new over there, but I still kind of want to just go through it so you can see it every single week of this tour. All right, first things first, we have our strawberry green stalk. It's doing about the same as it has been. It's not great. I've been kind of bringing it back to life, and you can see parts of it are starting to do really well, but it's been happier since I put it in this sunnier spot where now it gets way more sun and closer to what it's supposed to get. I don't think it's getting the full 8 hours. I think it's getting maybe 5, usually 5.5, but that's much better than the 2 it was getting before. So I'm still holding out hope for these. And our blackberries, which are, you can see behind me, are doing really, really well. They are, a lot of them, all the way to the ceiling and beyond. So we've been just kind of tucking these back as they grow, but still covered in lots of blackberries. And this hedge does not disappoint. So it's looking really good, and we're just kind of playing the waiting game at this point. And here's a closer look at the blackberries, so you can see there's a lot of fruit on here. And then this is our other green stalk. There's not much to report going on here. It just needs to be refilled still. And more blackberries, and you can see they've grown all the way out here because these are ones that don't have any support on them. So we're just kind of letting them go because we don't mind it. All right, so next up we have our apricot tree and our peach tree on the other side of this. So you can see that our apricot tree is actually starting to show signs of not doing so hot, and it's been covered in aphids all season. We let it be kind of a ladybug breeding ground just because we wanted the beneficial insects to come in, eat their fill, all that kind of stuff. What we noticed in the last couple weeks was it looked like something was starting to eat the ladybugs. A lot of them disappeared in like a week, and there were still a lot of aphids on this tree. And so you can see there's a lot of yellowing leaves still, and I'll do a close-up. It's pretty gross, so if you're not into creepy crawlies, this is your warning. But I'm going to show you a close-up of what the aphids look like. So this is what this tree looks like. Some of the leaves are worse, some are better, but it's starting to show a lot of yellowing, and so we think we're finally going to come in and just like clip off the yellowing leaves, clip off maybe some of the leaves that have the worst of the aphid damage, and see what we can do here. We don't know when we're going to be able to get to it, but we have been looking at it and just kind of weighing our options. Oh, here we go. Yeah, that's gross. That's all aphids. And then over here, we have our peach tree, which got leaf curl at the very beginning of the season, but it's still producing a ton of fruit. So you can see this thing is covered. Well, the thing is we came out here, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 days ago, and we picked a huge bowl of peaches, and it's still, I mean, it's still loaded up. And so we're going to come back here probably today and pick more. The fruit that we got originally was kind of small, and so we were hoping with taking some off, and we took like the bug damaged ones off too, for as well as many as we could see, but we were hoping that that would give this second round a chance to get a little bit bigger, and then they would just continue to get a little bit bigger as they got ripe. That's our thoughts anyway. So we don't know if that's going to work out, but this thing is loaded up, and the peaches are really good. They're small still, but they're really good. And we've been making a lot of like smoothies and stuff out of them and all that kind of stuff. So I think we're probably going to juice some of them, and I might try peach jam, but we might freeze all of that first, and I might try it later in the winter when I have more time. So we'll see. So here's another shot of the peach tree, and right next to it we have our grape arch. This is 3 grape plants. So there's 2 grape plants that are mature on this side and then 1 on this side. So there's something new in here that I want to show you, and we'll see if I can get in here without being attacked. In the grape arch, you can see that the grapes are getting bigger, which is really awesome. They're actually getting to a really good size now, and they will get a lot bigger than this, and they'll turn red. And you can see that this thing is just full of grapes, which is really exciting. But the other day we noticed in here, see right there, that is a bird's nest. So I came back out so I don't make the bird too mad. We think it is a mockingbird. I almost said mockingjay. That's not right. That's Hunger Games. I think it's a mockingbird. And at first I found the nest, I want to say almost a week ago now, and I was like, oh, a bird started to build a nest, but there's no bird in here. This is funny. And then like 2 days later, we actually saw the bird coming in and continuing to build on the nest, and it's a lot bigger than when I saw it first. And it's been attacking everything that has come close to that nest. And like, this bird has no fear, which is kind of funny. We saw it beat up a couple squirrels that were just trying to get to the peach tree. It has no mercy. And so I don't want to make it too mad by going under there, but I did want to show you that that is there. Now, we are still going to go under the grape arch. We are still going to harvest our grapes and all that kind of stuff. But we've been trying to leave it alone for the most part, just because, you know, it's a bird that's trying to protect its babies or its home. And so the whole point of this garden is we are trying to build in things like that and make space for things like that. So we're just trying to give them the space that we can. But, you know, when it's time to harvest our grapes, we're still going to go under there. And past the grape arch, we have citrus that I'll just go through really fast. This is a very young Meyer lemon tree that we put in this year. Over here we have our orange tree, and the oranges are starting to get a really good size. So this is good to see. There is a lot of them on here. So we think we'll still get fruit by the end of the season, which is really great. And we're still holding out hope that this is a navel orange tree. And here's the other side of it. So you can see this tree is still recovering a little bit from whatever sickness it had when we moved in. But overall, this tree looks a million times better with us babying it and, you know, taking off some of the worst of it and all of that kind of stuff. So it's getting there. This is our cutie tree, clementines. And this fruit is coming along. I mean, it's small, but we expect it to be. And so yeah, these trees are pretty happy. All right, so now we are in the main part of the garden. We're going to go over the beds that we have and what's new in here. There's a few really exciting things, but I went and got my little vase here and my bowl, because this is when the harvesting is starting. I haven't felt another drop yet, so I think as of right now we're still in the clear. We'll see. But so I'll take a little bit more time doing this part. Yeah, I just went through that other stuff very quickly. Let's start behind me and take a look at our tomatoes. Hey, buddy. I think he sees the rabbits. Yeah, Remy definitely sees the rabbits. There are a bunch of them, and they've kind of taken up residence in our neighbors' yards. They can't get into ours, which is really good, but he's still hopeful. So here we have our first tomato trellis. This one, I have come out here and pruned a little bit, but I need to come out here and prune more just because more of the branches are starting to get heavy and touch the ground. But over here, the big development is we are starting to get tomatoes. Those are Roma tomatoes, which is really exciting. And I don't know if any of the other ones have tomatoes yet. I'm actually surprised that these cherries didn't come first. These are Sweet 100 cherries, but there's still a lot of flowers on them, so that's good. This guy flops over. We propped him up with like one stick. We need to do better than that. And then over here we have Amish paste tomatoes, these two, and nothing yet. And then down here are the pumpkins, which we're gonna move one of those. So right here we have our first massive zucchini plant. I saw some stuff on here yesterday that needed to come out, and so I'm gonna go ahead and get that. Oh, there's a bee in one of these flowers, and so I'm gonna be careful around him or her, give him some space, but putting gloves on because these are very prickly to me. And let's see what we got in here. I see at least one that could come out right now. So for zucchini, sometimes I'll try and just twist them with my hands. If you just twist the fruit, it usually is pretty good. And then sometimes what I'll do is I'll take my snippers and I'll just cut like a little bit on the stem of the fruit I'm trying to take and then twist the rest of the way. And that's what it comes off with, like a snip. Sometimes when I try to just twist it with my hands, it breaks a little too far down. And sometimes it works perfectly. I always just kind of, I usually will just try anyway, but depends on what kind of mood I'm in. So right next to the zucchini, we have one of these miscellaneous, we're not sure what it is, but it's doing really well plants. This is not something we planted here, but it's kind of taken off, and there's a few of these in the garden right now. So the thing about these plants right here too, we thought that it was some sort of nightshade, which would be like a tomato, eggplant, what's another one, pepper, potato, something like that. And so we looked it up and we couldn't get a more specific thing than Google, and we tried one of the plant apps telling us it's a nightshade, and it suggested all the things that we thought it might be. Tomatillo, that was another one we weren't sure about. And so we were just talking about it yesterday. It is starting to, some of the flowers are starting to like fruit a little bit. It doesn't look like a tomatillo. And Remy, quiet. Good boy, good quiet. The bunny just went out of his eyesight and he didn't like that. So anyway, what I was saying is we're not sure what this is, and we decided yesterday we're just going to go ahead and take them out just because they're huge. We have no idea what they are, so we're not going to eat them. And at this point, they're just taking up a ton of space and shading out the things that we know we do want that we did plant. So especially this one, like this is the biggest one that we have. It's crowding out a lot of stuff, even with me clipping it back as a fun experiment. And so at this point, it's just, we weren't able to get a clear idea of exactly what it was. So we're just going to take it out, but it is something that came in our soil. I might leave one of the ones that's on the edge, but this one for sure is going to come out just because it's very much in the way. Here we have an okra that is starting to bud a little bit. You can see those are, well, they might be leaves still, but the tiny okra plants look exactly like this too. So we have another one where they're a little bit bigger, and I'm pretty sure they are buds, but this plant is doing really well. I think because it's been mixed in with all this other stuff, it didn't get quite as pecked at as the other okra, but they all are trying to make a comeback. Here's another one that wasn't so lucky. And then we have this is opal basil, purple basil, and it's really pretty. Here, we notice on some plants, we are starting to get peppers. And there's a pepper. So this one is this one's an Edgevarsky, so this is a new pepper to us. So that's exciting. They're like big red peppers. They kind of look like Italian peppers. So we've heard a lot of really great things about them, and I'm excited to try those. Here's a Thai basil that is lovely. I think I'm going to pick some of this for my flower arrangement here. But let me do the tour first just because we're going through the rain. Oh, here's an okra. And that's what little okra looks like right here. So this one, I mean, it might still open up and be leaves actually, but they look exactly like this. Little spiky things. And we have more peppers that are starting to lose their flowers, and the fruit is starting to come in behind them, which is really exciting. And here's our other zucchini plant. Doesn't look like there's anything to take off of it today, but it is big and glorious. You know what? I changed my mind. I think I am going to pick flowers as I go because I would love to have flowers at the end of this tour. Look at this guy right here. Start us off. And I'm just going to put it in water. I'm going to clean them up and everything in the house just to save a little bit of time. But this is going to be my first bouquet of the year. Okay, then so back to the zucchini I was talking about. If you can hear barking in the background, that is my neighbor's dog. He always has a lot to say. I try to edit it out, but sometimes I just can't. The sound doesn't. I can't edit the sound out all the time. But anyway, that's the zucchini. It's looking really good. We have a marigold here that was pretty eaten, but it's making a beautiful comeback right now. That is a vine that needs to move. And take a look at this. This is an amaranth, and I keep trying to do it justice, and I feel like it's just not the same as in person, but it is so beautiful. That I love it. And I love this pop of color mixed in with all the green. This is a cucumber plant. It's an Armenian cucumber, and it's loaded with flowers now. I haven't seen any cucumbers yet, but they usually surprise me. I usually find them when they're gigantic, so I don't know. We'll see. And then right next to it is a different kind of cucumber. This one is a Telegraph Improved, also covered in flowers now. And so we'll see how they do. This is our Moulin Rouge zinnia. And let's see, do the wiggle test. Oh, these aren't quite ready yet. So for this wiggle test that I'm doing right now, I learned this by watching Flower Farm YouTube videos. I think Flower Hill Farm, Nicole Flower Hill Farm is one of the people that I watch do this, but I think I actually learned it from You Can't Eat the Grass, their YouTube channel. They have an amazing flower farm, and I love their channel because they really show all of the work that goes into it. But anyway, I learned this test for zinnias. You can tell when they're ready to pick because if you kind of take the stem down a little bit and you wiggle it, if the stem kind of goes like this, it's not ready yet. But if the stem is straight when you do that and it just kind of goes like this with the whole flower, then it is ready. And I think I have another one that is ready that I'll show you the difference. But this one, it's a little too wiggly still, and which is totally fine. These just bloomed and I'm happy to have them here. I just wanted to see if I could get one of these for the bouquet. So let's keep looking. Oh, right next to those zinnias, we have our last of our sugar snap peas. So these were the ones that we did our soil tests with, and there's a lot of peas on here. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick all of these really quick, and then we will move on. It's way past season for these too, so they might be really bitter. and I'm okay with that. We like to try anyway, and then if they get too far gone, we just kind of either take the plant out because we're done with it, or we let them dry. We let the pods dry on the plant and save it for seeds for later. So that looks pretty good. And now we are in the middle trellis. So over here, things are doing really well. Also, I just picked the peas off of this little tester patch. This is a cucumber that is growing everywhere. So I keep trying to tuck them just in general to their own side, just to give the little plants over here a fighting chance. I'm going to take 2 of these and try to move them. But this is kind of what I wanted. You can see I have zinnias poking out from the middle of these. These are Senora zinnias. This is the first time I've ever grown these. Let's do the wiggle test here. Oh yeah, so let me see. So you see how that one, the whole thing just kind of moves straight? That one is ready, but it doesn't have all the different levels that it's supposed to have. So I'm gonna actually leave these just because I could pick them, but I don't know. I think we can let these be better over time. And then back behind here, in the middle of these 2 trellises, I planted straw flowers, and they are starting to bloom. This is the first time I've ever grown straw flowers. That's cool. I hope the microphone is picking that sound up. That's awesome. And then on the other side over there, there's a zinnia too. Let's see if we can find it. So this is another Armenian cucumber. It's massive. Let me come over here so you can really see how big it is. It's taller than me at this point, and I'm almost 5'6". So there's an Armenian cucumber, and then there is a Parisian gherkin. I have to look at it. I'll put it on the screen. It's one of the 2, and that one is growing really well right next to it too. And they're just kind of growing together at this point. I was trying to keep them mostly on their own side, but they're doing their own thing now. And then I had a little scraggly sunflower that the goldfinches have been thoroughly enjoying. Then we have some really healthy pepper plants. So I'm probably going to put a cage on this guy to help support both of these. So I use tomato cages for peppers. I don't use them for tomatoes just because they will support a pepper plant, but I found them to be entirely too small for a tomato. Here we have a bunch of chamomile that I need to harvest, and another one of those miscellaneous plants. I thought that I had put a dahlia here, but I guess not. Or maybe this is a dahlia. I don't know. The rest of my dahlias are so eaten up that I can't tell what a healthy one looks like. Here we have another amaranth that is on the edge of our noodle bean trellis, and the noodle beans are much, much taller than me now. So I'm about this tall, and they go all the way up there. So really happy with how this is filling out. I don't see any flowers yet, but they're having a good time going all over the place. And you can see they've taken over the trellis over here. I'm just trying to keep them mostly on their own side, but I know that when this guy takes off, it'll be fine because this is going to be a bully, and it's definitely going to make its own way. And this is a butternut squash that we just planted, I want to say like 2 weeks ago maybe. This is a dahlia that has been chewed to 1 inch of its life, but we have flowers now. Let me see if I can do this without breaking it. Look at that. It's our first dahlia. That's exciting. So I'm definitely not going to pick this dahlia. I'm going to leave it alone. But this was a full-on experiment. I've grown dahlias in pots before. You know, when you pick one up at the garden store, it's already a full flower and you just kind of keep it for the season. This was the first time I'd ever grown dahlias from seeds. And this was a mixed pack of seeds. And so I had no idea what colors any of them were going to be. So this was cool. I hope there's more than yellow in this pack, but this is a cool, really cool first one. I see at least 7 buds on here, so I'm really excited about that, especially since this plant has suffered so much with just being picked apart. But yeah, it's really pretty. I'm really excited about it. This is our very first one, and so now I know I can grow dahlias from seeds, which is really exciting. One thing about dahlias that it's just interesting to know, or worth knowing if you are gonna grow them, is there's 2 ways to do it. You can either grow them from seeds like I did, or you can grow them from tubers. So they have these kind of like potato looking things that grow underground. And a lot of times, usually people will actually grow dahlia tubers. And the reason they do that is because if you, at the end of the season, dig this plant up, take the tubers from underground, split them apart, you know that you're going to get this exact same flowers. So if I wanted flowers that looked exactly like this, same yellow shape, everything, I would go for the tubers. Now, dahlias also produce seeds. And the thing with the seeds that I've heard is each seed is just a little bit different genetically. And so you might get the exact same plant, but usually it's going to be something similar if you're going with growing from seeds. Now, like I said, I got a mix pack, so it was all kinds of dahlia seeds, all different colors. Like, I have no idea what I have, which was kind of exciting for me, especially since this is the first time I've ever grown dahlias. But that's something that's worth knowing if you are trying to think about if you're going to grow them from seed or from tubers. It really just comes down to, are you open to experimenting and being surprised? Even if you get an exact variety in a seed, all of them will look a little bit different. And then if you get a mixed pack, it's a grab bag. Or do you want like a very specific flower that's a very specific shape and like all of that kind of stuff? Then you're probably going to want to go for those tubers. So, fun facts. Things you learn by watching flower farming YouTube channels. I was just halfway to getting up and I saw something out of the corner of my eye. This is exciting. That right there is our first cucumber of this season. So you remember how I said they always just surprise me and I just find them later? It's my very first cucumber surprise. Oh, and here is the other zinnia I was talking about that's living behind the cucumbers. And you can see there's another flower right here that is essentially, they're competing for sun, which is exactly what I wanted. I wanted them to kind of poke out and find their own way. But I'm really excited about that cucumber down there. That means that there's a lot more to come, and hopefully they're not bitter and we can actually eat them this time. These are our Blue Lake pole beans. I'm not sure why some of the leaves are curling like this. Overall, the plant generally looks healthy, but yeah, I'm not sure what that's about. Some of them are just a little curled and crinkly. I don't know. Then next to it we have a honey nut squash, which is doing really well, and it is producing honey nuts. So this is going to get a lot bigger. It's going to get probably that big, or, you know, length of my hand. And then it's going to turn this really pretty golden color and kind of like a pumpkinish color. And that's how you know that they're ready. But it's essentially a smaller, sweeter butternut squash. And we really love these plants, especially since they grow so well on trellises. But yeah, there's a few fruit on here, which is really exciting. On this next trellis, we have another honey nut squash plant with some fruit that's getting bigger on it. This one, the plant is smaller, but it's still doing pretty well. And there's some tendrils over here that need to be moved. I'm slowly trying to get them to climb up instead of out. But it's just kind of messing with them every day and waiting till they're long enough to actually trellis up. Here's some more Blue Lake pole beans. And this is a yellow squash, and this is the one, oh yeah, we gotta get these two right now. See, I twisted this one at the end and it came off a little bit. You can see there. Still good. This other one over here too. There's another one. Moving past the yellow squash, we have some sweet alyssum growing underneath it as a beneficial habitat. We have another amaranth. This is a new butternut squash that we put in. Then we have more noodle beans. So these noodle beans aren't as tall as the other ones, but they are starting to flower, I think. You can see that. So I think there's going to be buds coming off of this pretty soon, which means there will be beans soon. Over here we have some peppers that I put tomato cages around, so you can see these are not very big tomato cages, but they're perfect for peppers. More fruit coming on these, and this one's flowering pretty good too. Usually I will kind of stagger our cages just so that I can actually prop up more than one plant with one cage. So I'll kind of strategically place the cages because we also just don't have enough for all of the plants. But that's what's going on here. And then down here we have our hot peppers. So these would be the jalapenos and the poblanos. And I'm actually surprised that these weren't fruiting first, because usually our jalapenos fruit first. But they're still doing really well. And then there's some zucchini here. Let's see. Oh yeah, I can take that one. I'm gonna take that one off. Okay, so now we are in the middle of the garden. I'm doing a cut flower garden experiment in the 3 4x8 foot beds behind me. And there's a lot to pick here. There's a lot to prune here. I'm not going to do all of it right now. I'm going to get a couple things for my bouquet, but I'm going to show you kind of what's blooming right now because things are getting really pretty in this little experiment over here. And this is the first time I've grown most of these flowers. So the cosmos, the snapdragons, I've grown zinnias before, but this is the first time I've grown these certain varieties, a lot of them. And so a lot of this is an experiment to me, and it didn't turn out great, but well, let me show you. Because a lot of it did turn out really, really well. So before we get into the flowers, I want to show you these determinate tomatoes that I'm growing on the end here. These are Romas, and they are starting to fruit here. Now, this trellising method is called the Florida weave. It's the first time I've done it. I made a video, and I'll link that below, on how I did it. And on these, it's working really, really well. The plants are supported. It turned out great. And then on my other ones, I think I did it wrong. So I'll show you that too. But these are starting to have lots of fruit on them, which is really great. And then I have 3 more tomato plants right over there. So these are golden nugget tomatoes, and this is where my Florida weave went wrong. And you can tell here, like 2 days ago I came out here, and this is not a Florida weave. This is just me trying to get the plants off the ground with some string and hold up the ends. But these are growing wild and crazy, and it's loaded with fruit. And the cool thing about these is, you can see in here, they're starting to change color. So those will be ripe probably in a week or so, maybe. But I'm really excited about that. These 3 plants, I don't know if they're supposed to grow this crazy or not, because they're not really getting any taller, but they are loaded with fruit. Okay, so back to this first bed with the Roma tomatoes. These are our cosmos, and I mean, overall, they're looking really well, or looking really good. I've never grown cosmos before, and they're starting to actually get like a really good size. This is nice. At first, I was only getting things like this, and they were also getting eaten, and so I was like, this is not great. But they're starting to get a really good stem size. This variety, all of my cosmos are a called Candy Stripe, and they come in different colors actually. So there's this pink one and there's this one, and these came, oh, and then there's like this kind over here. So all of these came from the exact same pack of seeds, and it wasn't a mix. They just kind of come in slightly different hues, which I kind of love. So I'm definitely gonna come through here and pick some of these for the bouquet. And then here are snapdragons. This is the one I tried to show you last week, and I just couldn't get the color right. And now it's a little bit old, but it's this beautiful mix of like sherbet pink and orange and yellow. And I think we have a newer one now, but gosh, it was just so pretty when it first bloomed. And then we have really nice white ones and yellow ones coming up over here too. And then there's just more cosmos. These are extra straw flowers that I had, and this is a larkspur. It already bloomed and it's this really pretty purple. So when these flowers were spent, I cut them off with the hopes that it would flower again, and it looks like it might. So I'm excited about that. So in this middle bed, those are the golden nugget tomatoes that are a little wild and crazy right now. I have zinnias on this side. I don't know what variety these are. These are the Senora zinnia, and you can see how many, or no, this is the giant purple, I think. Yeah, this is the giant purple zinnia, and you can see how many folds this has. The Senora zinnia is supposed to be like this too. But let me do a wiggle test on this one. So this one was ready, and I think it's just a little bit too past, because I wiggled that the other day or the other week and it was perfect. So this is one I'm gonna click today to also encourage more of these to bloom and for it to just in general create more flowers. But this is one, even though it's a little bit old, I don't care. So I'm gonna take this one for my arrangement today. So these are the cosmos, more of them, and you can just see the different hues. There's 2 different plants here and then 2 smaller plants here, and even on like the same plant, these 2 right here are growing off the exact same plant, and that's pretty cool. Like these two are growing off the exact same plant, and so I would definitely grow cosmos again. I kind of love these now that I've been able to get them to a better size. And then this is my favorite part of the flower garden right now. This is all of the snapdragons, and this was a mixed pack. And here's another one of those kind of like sherbet orange ones. This is, it just doesn't look the same on camera, but that's so pretty. I can't tell you how happy I am with this little patch of snapdragons right here. This was a mixed pack. Like I said, I've never grown these before. I had no idea what it was going to be like, except for I saw them over and over and over on flower farming recommendations videos and like blogs and all that kind of stuff. And I honestly didn't think I was going to get anything off of this, because after I started all of my seeds, I got the seeds and immediately started them, but I found out that I was probably too late for my zone because it was going to be too hot for them. And at first it was, but I think because we've had such a weird, mild spring for here, and I think also because of where these specifically are planted, where they get a lot of shade from our big trees, I think they've been able to kind of catch up and do really well. Because they're also starting to get tall now too, and I thought they were just gonna, we were gonna get flowers, which was great, but they're gonna be these itty bitty dinky things. But now they're starting to get some height to them, like this guy here, and I love these. So I'm definitely gonna grow these again, and from now on it's just trying to get better at growing them. So starting them at the right time for my season. I think I got lucky this time. And not all of them look like this. A lot of them are still really puny and not doing anything. But right here, is very happy, and I'm very happy. Let's look at him again. Let's look at him again. I'm not ready to move on. So as sad as I am to move on from those flowers, I still have a lot more to show you. And this is going to be a little bit faster because a lot of this stuff is smaller, but we've had some improvements. These are our last 16-foot beds, and then we have one more trellis. And I want to show you our blueberries really quick too, just to show you where they're at and how they're doing. Not much has changed for them, but they're living their lives. So behind our beds, we have 7 blueberry plants intermixed here. There is an apple tree right there. That is a Honeycrisp apple that came with the house. And then we have our 3 beds here that we're going to go over now. So this zucchini plant really took off in the last week, I want to say. And I harvested 1 zucchini off of it already. It was the first one that I harvested on this side. And this guy, this is probably okay to take, but I'm going to give it 1 more day. The peppers on this side, everything in these 3 beds actually went in about 2 weeks later than all the stuff on that side, in those beds. But it's starting to catch up. So the peppers are starting to flower, and they're starting to they're not exactly the same size yet, but they're getting there. This is a tomatillo. We might still move this, but it is starting to have the little papers come off of the flowers because now this year we managed to have 2 of them. And so my husband has been telling me that we definitely need to move these because otherwise they're gonna be really invasive. We're gonna have tomatillos all over this garden. So we've been planning to move these since I put them here, but this was just kind of to get them in the ground until we had another place in the perimeter to put them. These are all bush beans that I started. They're different colors, so they'll be green, purple, and yellow when they get going. And then these are our Amish paste tomatoes, and these are on a string trellis. So one thing about this string trellis is we did it a little bit differently than we have in previous years, mostly because we forgot how to do the second part of it. But we usually had a string going up, and then it went around the top of the pipe at the top twice in a knot, and like a suspension knot. Hi, buddy. Remy's right behind my camera. And we forgot how to do that second part, so we just did the first part where it was just one. And I have to say, it's been pretty annoying because they keep falling apart. So this was actually the knot that I showed you guys in my tomato trellising video. And just so you know, if you're having trouble with them kind of like slipping out all the time, it's doing the exact same thing for me. And so we need to remember how we did that second part, and then I need to update that because we used to not have a problem with these kind of coming loose all the time in the wind. You can see it's not really supporting these plants. The strings are just coming down. But anyway, so that's an update. If you followed that knot that we put in there and you're struggling with it, we are too. And it's just because we forgot how to do the second part of it. So I apologize for that, but there will be an update. So yeah, you can see like the string isn't really holding this up. I have to keep retying them every couple of days, which is just more than I want to do. But other things like this marigold down here is very pretty and doing really well. And over here we have things that are starting to get leaders. We have things that we planted a couple weeks ago and we're gonna move one of them. But everything over here is just, smaller. And that's okay. We have a basil that hasn't been eaten, which is great. So we've been picking the leaves off of this just to keep it bushy. But we have a few strong basil plants, and I'm trying to hold on to them as tight as I can, which is kind of crazy with the amount of basil I put in this garden to have so few plants. On this side, we have noodle beans on this trellis, and then more pole beans on this side. This is a pumpkin that we put in a couple weeks ago, and this is a honey nut that we put in a couple weeks ago. And they're both doing really well. Gotten to the point where I'm going to keep the flags on these for a couple more weeks. Well, actually, I might take them off this week just because we're going to have a party. I haven't decided yet, but the flags were my reminders to water more in those areas. It worked really well. So I might take those flags off soon. These are 2 tomatoes that I got from the farmer's market. This one is a Hungarian heart, and that one is a yellow brandywine. And this is my experiment to see if I can actually grow tomatoes in some semblance of an arch. I have 3 more plants on that side that are much smaller, and I think those are all Amish paste. And so I'm slowly getting them closer to the arch on that side, and then I want to see if I can grow them up the arch at least a little bit. The eggplants, they're not flowering or anything yet, but they are getting bigger, which is nice. And they're starting to kind of get that purpling from the, I think it's called anthocyanins also in eggplants, but they're starting to get the purple leaves, which are really pretty. So I have 2 eggplants on this side in this bed, and then 2 more on this side. And I kind of put them together because there was only 4 of them, and I wanted them to easily be able to, you know, pollinate each other if that's something that eggplants need. I'm actually not sure. But I wanted them all kind of in sort of one spot since there were only 4 of them. We usually grow more than 4, but this year we kind of just went pepper heavy. And next year I'll probably grow more eggplants, to be honest, just because we had so much space. And in the beginning I was just trying to wrap my head around how much space we had. But I'm happy with, these plants are really little, but I'm happy with having them here and what they're doing so far. And again, out of the corner of my eye, I see something that I meant to show you and I forgot. So I'm going to go back to that yellow brandywine tomato plant. Here's the eggplants I was just talking about. There's a pepper plant, and then here's that yellow brandywine, and it has fruit on it. So that's exciting. I've never grown this tomato before. It is a larger slicer, and we usually don't grow these at all. I usually don't even start any of these just for space reasons, but now we have the space to do this, and so I'm excited to try this tomato for the very first time. Okay, and then over here, what are you? This is a honey nut that is now, I've been tying this one up and it's been a little bit short, but you can see it's starting to go more than halfway across the bed. So what I've been doing is just grabbing it and bringing it back to the trellis every couple days, and eventually it'll be long enough where it'll actually stay over here. Yeah, see, just flopped right out. So I'm either gonna have to tie that guy or wait for it to grow a little bit longer. Same deal with this watermelon that's right next to it. This is a yellow watermelon, and this tendril is staying, which is good, but there's some other ones that I'm waiting for them to get just a little bit longer so that I can keep them on the trellis. This is the yellow squash. This is the only yellow squash on this side, and it is almost ready to do things. It's really gonna be really good. I'm glad that this is behind because we have a lot of squash right now. In this bed we have another zinnia, some really strong sunflowers that I'm excited for. This is another yellow watermelon. This is one of our other healthy basils. I think they're just doing way better on this side because the birds haven't found them yet. But I've been pinching this one too. It smells really, really good. And then here's another yellow watermelon that I transplanted, and it is surviving, which is great. At this point, I'm not worried about it. And so I'm just going to keep watering it, and usually if you get them, past the first couple days, they're going to be good to go. Down here I have another huge sunflower, which I need to trellis this guy a little bit better so that it's on the side of this trellis. Oh, there's it looks like a ladybug in there, but it might be a different kind of beetle. Can you see that? It's hard with the wind, hard to focus. But anyway, there's a little ladybug looking thing in there. Here are the other 3 tomatoes I was talking about that I'm gonna attempt to grow up into this arch. This is another zucchini plant, which I need to take this guy off because it's growing weird. So let me do this with some snippers. When I have fruit that's growing kind of curved like this, I always kind of take it off so that the plant can focus on growing better fruit. But you can see this one also merged with another one that was growing underneath it, which is pretty cool. We had another zucchini do this year, and I'd never actually seen it before this year. This is the second one we've had where 2 kind of like merge together like that. It's pretty weird. And then to finish out this bed, we have a bunch of peppers. They're starting to flower. There's not a ton of fruit yet. And then there's just the marigolds and stuff down there. So everything overall is doing pretty well. And the last part of the garden, last but not least, we have a lime tree that we planted there. This is a gala apple tree. And then we have our second tomato trellis. These are all Roma tomatoes. We have another surviving basil back there, which is great. And these are, I don't remember if I saw fruit on these. I think I've just seen flowers so far. But they're all kind of about the same. And they're doing really well. So we're just kind of letting them do their thing. And then at the end here, this is the second Honeycrisp apple that we have. I intentionally didn't put a tomato plant right in front of it. You can see there's kind of a blank spot. And then there's borage at the bottom of this that has really taken off. And this is the first time we've grown this. It's like weirdly fuzzy to me. And bees are supposed to love this. I have yet to see any bees on it, but it's a cool plant. And then I had just extra snapdragons that I put over here. And this one is a really pretty peach color, peach and yellow. And then I planted some pumpkins down here, which one of those I'll go ahead and move. Okay, so now that the tour part is done and we managed to beat the rain, I'm gonna get some flowers really quick. Okay, so that's going to be it for our garden tour today. Thank you so much for joining me on this cloudy but actually really beautiful day. It was nice to be able to take my time and not feel like I was rushing to beat the heat. So we got pretty good harvest today. Let's see if I can lift this with one hand. A lot of zucchini. This is basically what our harvests are right now, is lots of zucchini. I think this is the most I've gotten in one day though. We have multiple plants now that are producing a lot of fruit, so this is great. So yeah, we got a lot of food, and I got my very first bouquet of flowers. So I'm gonna go inside, put more water in this because I accidentally dumped it out, or maybe it tipped over, maybe the dog hit it, I don't know. But I'm gonna put more water in these and just kind of like clean up the bottom leaves a little bit and attempt to arrange it. I am not any good at flower arranging. It's something that I'm learning right now. But I'm just excited to have some color in the house, and these are flowers that I grew. So this is awesome. This is what I wanted. So thank you so much for joining me today on this garden tour. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that it was relaxing for you. Let me know what's growing in your garden, even if it's a pot on a patio. I'd love to hear all about it. I think there's one more week of the official spring season of this series, so that'll be next week. Until then, happy growing, and I will see you soon. Bye, friends.